Harper Blake had survived 3 apocalyptic scenarios on Earth, 2 corporate restructurings, and 1 particularly aggressive HOA president. Sitting in a crystalline cage watching a 12-foot-tall alien warlord explain how she was going to die should have ranked higher on her personal terror scale. It didn't. "Behold!" Zekthor the Undefeated spread his forearms wide, his crystalline body refracting the arena lights into what Harper had to admit was a pretty decent light show. The grand arena of Carvos Prime, where warriors prove their worth and the weak are... "Is there a complaint department?" Harper interrupted, examining her fingernails. One was chipped. That was more annoying than the impending death thing. The crowd of several thousand aliens went silent. Zekthor's dramatic pause extended into awkward territory. What? A complaint department, or maybe a suggestion box?" Harper leaned against the cage bars, which hummed with what was probably a lethal amount of energy. She'd touched worse during the Detroit Exclusion Zone power grid repairs. "Because I'm pretty sure kidnapping violates at least a dozen interstellar treaties. I'm not a lawyer, but I did sit through mandatory HR training about hostile work environments, and this feels relevant." Ambassador Quillix, the bird-like Zentarii diplomat who'd accidentally gotten Harper into this mess, was molting at an alarming rate in the VIP section. Stress feathers drifted down like snow. Harper felt bad for him. This wasn't really his fault. He'd sneezed on the sacred combat floor during what was supposed to be a routine diplomatic dinner. How was he supposed to know Carvian culture considered that a challenge to ritual combat? The real question was why Harper, a disaster relief coordinator who'd been on Carvos Prime for exactly 4 hours as part of humanity's cultural exchange program, aka Earth's desperate attempt to look civilized to the Galactic Council, was now the one in the cage. Apparently, when you insult Carvian hospitality, someone has to fight. And since Quillix was a diplomat with 17 different immunity clauses, and Harper had the bureaucratic designation of Cultural Attaché Assistant Provisional, she'd been voluntold for arena duty. She'd filled out less paperwork to get emergency relief into the Shanghai flood zones. The human speaks of complaints? Battle Scholar Vexrim, a mantis-like alien in the scholar section, was already frantically tapping notes into his datapad. Fascinating. This must be a pre-combat psychological ritual. Note the casual dismissal of mortality, clearly a fear suppression technique evolved for... "I'm just annoyed," Harper called up to him. "There's a difference." Zekthor recovered his composure, which involved a lot of crystalline clicking sounds that might have been laughter or indigestion. "You are brave, human. Foolish, but brave. Do you know how many species have sent champions to my arena? I'm guessing you're about to tell me." 847! Zekthor's voice boomed across the arena. The crowd cheered. 847 species, all defeated, all humbled, and do you know what I have heard about humans? Harper waited. This was clearly a dramatic pause moment. "You are aggressively mediocre." The crowd erupted in laughter. Several aliens were literally slapping their knees, or knee equivalents. One species was laughing so hard they were changing colors. "Okay, rude," Harper muttered, "but fair." "Your species," Zekthor continued, warming to his subject, "is known across the galaxy for being dangerous primarily to yourselves. Your wars, your pollution, your bizarre insistence on living on a death world and calling it home." More laughter. Harper had to admit he had a point. Earth was pretty much the galaxy's Florida. You have no natural armor, no venom, no psionic abilities. You are soft, weak, and... Zekthor paused for effect. "Only recently learned to leave your own planet. You are, in every measurable way, the galaxy's most persistent accident." The crowd was eating this up. Harper wondered if this was what Christians felt like in the Roman Colosseum, except with more space racism and better special effects. "So," Zekthor's forearms gestured toward a wall covered in exotic weaponry. I offer you a choice, human. Select your instrument of brief survival. The weapon wall was impressive, Harper had to admit. Plasma lances that crackled with energy. Molecular disruptors that made the air shimmer. Gravity hammers that looked like they could fold space-time. Whips made of what appeared to be solidified lightning. Each weapon had a little plaque with its name and kill count. Harper walked along the wall, very aware that several thousand aliens were watching her every move. Battle Scholar Vexrim was narrating for his recording device. Note the human's examination pattern, methodical, calculated. She must be analyzing threat matrices and energy output ratios. Harper picked the simplest sword on the wall. It was ceremonial, clearly, with an ornate handle and a blade that looked like it hadn't killed anything more threatening than a ribbon at an opening ceremony. Does this come with a warranty? Zekthor stared at her. The crowd's chatter died down. That is the blade of ceremonial honor. It has not drawn blood in 3 centuries. It is a symbol. Cool. Does it come sharpened, or is that extra? Why would you choose? Zekthor seemed genuinely baffled. There are weapons there that could level buildings, destroy starships, unmake matter itself. Yeah, and I don't know how to use any of them, Harper said reasonably. I took fencing in college. Briefly, before the instructor said I had concerning aggression issues and suggested kickboxing instead. This is a sword. I get swords. Point the sharp end at the thing trying to kill me. Vexrim was typing furiously. Brilliant! She selects the weapon her opponent would least expect, a psychological warfare technique of the highest order. I'm really not that deep, Harper said. Zekthor's crystalline face did something that might have been a smile or a grimace. Very well, human. You have chosen your tool of futile resistance. Now let me explain the rules. There are rules. For death sports. Of course there are rules. We are not barbarians. Zekthor looked offended. Rule 1. Combat continues until surrender or death. Rule 2. No outside interference. Rule 3. The arena's medical team will attempt revival if death occurs within the first 30 seconds of defeat. That's oddly specific. We had an incident with a Glorbian who died too efficiently. It was anticlimactic. Zekthor waved this away. Rule 4. You may request 1 brief rest between opponents. Wait, opponents plural. Did I not mention? If you somehow survive your first match, there will be others. Many others. Warriors from across this sector have gathered to test themselves against the legendary human mediocrity. I feel like legendary mediocrity is an oxymoron. Your first opponent. Zekthor's 4 arms gestured toward a massive gate that was grinding open with ominous rumbling sounds. Is a Vortak crusher, 7 feet of pure muscle and rage, claws that can rend starship hull, a bite force that could crack a tank, winner of 43 consecutive death matches. The Vortak crusher that emerged looked like someone had taken a rhinoceros, made it angrier, covered it in spikes, and then given it personal anger management issues. Its eyes glowed red. Steam came out of its nostrils. It saw Harper and roared, showing approximately 800 teeth, none of which looked friendly. Harper sized it up with the practiced eye of someone who'd once had to evacuate civilians while dodging automated defense turrets during the Chicago corporate zone collapse. Huh, she said. It's like dealing with Kevin from accounting, but with more spikes. The arena's energy barrier snapped into place, separating Harper from the stands. The crowd leaned forward in anticipation. Quilix buried his face in his wings. Vexrim's datapad was recording everything. Zekthor raised his primary arms. Let it be known across the galaxy. No human survives my arena. This truth is absolute. This truth is... Do you guys have workers' comp? Harper interrupted, because I'm pretty sure this violates about 600 safety regulations. Zekthor's eye twitched. Begin! The Vortak crusher charged, all 3 tons of murder and momentum heading straight for Harper at approximately 30 miles per hour. Harper didn't dodge. She planted her feet, raised her ceremonial sword and muttered, "Well, this is still better than that corporate retreat." The crowd went silent, the Vortex claws extended, and Harper, disaster relief coordinator from Earth, survivor of 3 apocalypses and 2 restructurings, met the charge head-on. The impact should have killed her. That was the general consensus among the arena's medical staff, who were monitoring Harper's vital signs with increasing alarm. The Vortex crusher weighed approximately 3 tons. Its charge generated enough force to crumble reinforced steel. The collision alone should have liquefied her internal organs. Harper went flying backward, hit the arena wall hard enough to crack the crystalline surface, and slid down to the ground in a heap. The crowd erupted in cheers. Zekthor nodded with satisfaction. Battle scholar Vexrim prepared to document another predictable human failure. Then Harper stood up. "Okay," she said, spitting blood. "So that's what that feels like." The cheering died like someone had hit a mute button. Harper rolled her shoulder, the one that had definitely just been dislocated, and felt it pop back into place with a grinding sound that made several nearby aliens faint. She tested her grip on the ceremonial sword. Still there. Good. "Is something wrong with your medical scanners?" Zekthor asked the staff. "No, honored arena master," one of the technicians squeaked. She is still alive. Somehow, multiple fractures detected, internal bleeding, severe trauma to— "I can hear you," Harper called out. "It's rude to discuss someone's medical issues without consent. Also, I'm pretty sure I signed something about privacy rights in that 30-page waiver nobody let me read." The Vortex crusher, looking confused that its prey was still mobile, charged again. This time Harper tried dodging. She wasn't good at it. Her left leg wasn't responding quite right, probably something to do with the fractured pelvis the medical team was muttering about. But she managed to turn a direct hit into a glancing blow that only sent her tumbling across the arena floor instead of through another wall. She came up bleeding from approximately 8 new places. "You know what this reminds me of?" Harper said conversationally, as if she wasn't currently losing a fight with a biological tank. "The Detroit Exclusion Zone. Ever heard of it? No? Okay, so imagine this, but with more toxic waste and people shooting at you while you're trying to deliver medical supplies." The Vortex crusher roared and swung its massive claws. Harper ducked, barely, and felt the wind from the strike ruffle her hair. She countered with her sword, which bounced off the creature's thick hide like a toothpick against tank armor. "Right. Tough skin. Got it." In the VIP section, Ambassador Quillix had stopped molting out of sheer shock. "She's still fighting," he whispered. "Why is she still fighting?" "This is impossible," Vexrim muttered, his recording device capturing every moment. "Medical telemetry confirms multiple killing injuries. She should be unconscious. She should be in shock. She should be—" Harper took another hit, this one from the Vortex tail, which caught her in the ribs and sent her sprawling. The sound of breaking bones echoed
through the arena. She laid there for a moment, and several aliens started celebrating prematurely. Then she laughed. It was a slightly unhinged laugh, the kind that comes from someone who's already been through worse and found the cosmic joke hilarious. "Oh man," Harper wheezed, getting to her knees, then her feet. "Remember when I said this was better than the corporate retreat? I'm revising that statement. This is better than 2 corporate retreats."
The Vortex crusher was starting to look less confident. It circled Harper warily, trying to understand why its prey wouldn't die properly. "New theory," Vexrim was typing frantically. "Humans possess regenerative combat persistence. They heal through some kind of biochemical spite mechanism. Their pain response must trigger advanced cellular repair." "I wish," Harper muttered, limping in a slow circle opposite the Vortex. Every movement hurt. Everything hurt. Her health insurance definitely didn't cover gored by alien rhinoceros, and she was pretty sure the hospital bills were going to be astronomical. But she'd walked 8 miles on a broken ankle once because the ambulance cost $3,000. She'd coordinated relief efforts for 6 weeks straight during the Shanghai floods, while running on 4 hours of sleep and questionable water purification. She'd survived the Chicago corporate wars when the automated defense systems went rogue and turned the downtown area into a real-life battle royale. One angry alien with anger management issues? That was almost quaint. The Vortak charged again. Harper, deciding that dodging wasn't working anyway, did something that made Zekthor stand up in alarm. She charged back. The ceremonial sword wasn't designed for combat, but 300 years of decorative maintenance had kept it sharp enough. When Harper and the Vortak collided, again an impact that should have killed her, she drove the blade up under the creature's jaw into what she really hoped was a vital area. The Vortak screamed. Harper screamed. They both went down in a tangle of limbs and blood. The arena went absolutely silent. For a long moment, nothing moved. Then Harper shoved the Vortak's bulk off her with a groan that sounded like metal scraping concrete. She stood up, swaying, covered in blood, mostly hers, some the Vortak's, and raised the sword in what might have been a victory gesture or just an attempt to stay upright. "Is there a gift shop?" she asked into the silence. "I want a t-shirt that says, 'I survived the arena of Carvos Prime, and all I got was this lousy t-shirt and catastrophic internal injuries.'" The crowd erupted, but not in celebration. In confusion, alarm. Several species were having what looked like existential crises. "Impossible!" Zekthor boomed. "Medical staff! Explain!" The head medical technician, a being that looked like a floating jellyfish made of anxiety, consulted its instruments with trembling tentacles. "Honored Arena Master, this human has sustained injuries that would kill 47 known species. She should be experiencing total system failure. Her pain tolerance it's beyond our measurement scales." "She's running on adrenaline," Quilix explained weakly from the VIP section, "and I suspect spite." "Adrenaline?" Vexrim was writing so fast his datapad was smoking. "Spite? These are weaponized biochemicals, emotional warfare compounds?" "They're coping mechanisms," Quilix protested. In a private booth overlooking the arena, Commander Thexeral of the Carvian Defense Force was having a very different conversation with his tactical advisors. "If one human can sustain this much damage and continue functioning," he said slowly, "we need to recalculate our defensive projections for human space," his second-in-command replied. "If this is their baseline durability—" "She's not even military," Quilix's voice carried across the arena. "She coordinates disaster relief. She hands out emergency rations and fills out forms. She's a bureaucrat." This information made things worse, not better. "A bureaucrat," Commander Thexral repeated. "Their non-combat specialists have this level of damage resistance." "Begin modeling scenarios," his advisor said quietly. "How many soldiers would it take to exhaust one human through sustained combat?" The simulation computer began running, then crashed, then rebooted and crashed again. "Why does it keep failing?" Thexral demanded. "The software can't process motivated by petty spite as a valid combat parameter, sir." Down in the arena, Harper had located a wall to lean against before her legs gave out completely. Medical staff were approaching cautiously like she might explode. "Okay," she said to no one in particular. "I'm pretty sure I need a hospital, several hospitals, maybe a medical school. Do you guys do organ transplants? Because I think several of mine are in the wrong places now." Zekthor descended from his platform, all four arms crossed. He looked at Harper. He looked at the defeated Vortak Crusher. He looked at his perfect, undefeated record crumbling before his crystalline eyes. "This proves nothing," he declared. "The Vortak was having an off day." "It tried to kill me 6 times, Harper pointed out. "Perhaps you are a genetic anomaly, a mutant among your kind." Zekthor was clearly grasping at straws. "I must know if all humans are this persistently difficult to kill." "Oh no," Quilix whispered. "I am calling in warriors from across this sector," Zekthor announced. "If humans truly possess this unnatural stubbornness, the galaxy must know, for security purposes." Harper raised a hand. "Can I get medical attention first? And maybe lunch? What's your lunch situation here? Please tell me it's better than the protein paste they served on the diplomatic shuttle." You wish to eat, after that? Zekthor seemed personally offended by her survival. I'm hungry. Near-death experiences do that. Also, I'm pretty sure I'm going into shock, so food would help with that. Do you have fries? I could murder some fries right now, metaphorically murder. The literal murdering is apparently your department. Vexrim's academic paper was already going viral across the galactic research networks. Humans, biological terminators, or evolution's cruelest joke. In the VIP section, an emergency transmission was being sent to the Galactic Council. We have a situation with the humans. It's not a diplomatic incident. It's worse. They won't die when they're supposed to. And in the medical bay, as alien doctors tried to figure out how to treat a species they'd previously dismissed as irrelevant, Harper Blake passed out with her last words being, "Someone better validate my parking." Harper woke up in the medical bay to discover that alien medicine was both incredibly advanced and deeply confused by human biology. Your skeletal structure makes no sense. The head physician, a creature that looked like a nervous cloud with tentacles, was explaining to a room full of other medical staff. These bones are designed to break and heal repeatedly. What kind of evolutionary pressure creates renewable structural supports? Earth, Harper croaked. Earth was the pressure. The cloud doctor jumped. You're awake. How are you awake? We gave you enough sedatives to knock out a Brontarian battle beast. I have a high tolerance for substances that are supposed to make me unconscious. Harper tried to sit up and immediately regretted it. Built it up during the Melbourne insomnia plague. Long story. How long was I out? 47 minutes. That's it? Your cellular repair rate is... The doctor consulted a data pad with trembling tentacles. Actively offensive to medical science. You should need months of recovery. You'll be combat ready in approximately 6 hours. 6 hours? Harper laughed, then stopped because laughing hurt. Your definition of combat ready and mine are very different. I feel like I got hit by a truck, multiple trucks, a convoy of trucks. Yes, that is combat ready by human standards, according to our new research data. Harper blinked. What research data? The doctor gestured to a wall screen that flickered to life, showing what appeared to be an emergency academic conference. Dozens of species were arguing in split-screen chaos. The human persists through damage via spite-based biological mechanisms, one scholar was shouting. No, it's clearly a form of distributed consciousness. When one organ fails, others compensate. I'm publishing a paper on human pain management as psychological warfare. Someone explain how she's still forming coherent sentences with those injuries. Battle scholar Vexrim appeared on screen, looking like he hadn't slept in the past few hours. Colleagues, I present my latest findings. The Spite Drive. Alternative fuel sources for sapient warfare. Humans, I theorize, convert negative emotions directly into kinetic energy. That's not... Harper tried to interject, but the screen had moved on. A military briefing was now showing. Commander Thexral stood before a holographic display of human space, looking deeply troubled. If the human in the arena represents average civilian durability, he was saying, we need to recalculate every defensive scenario involving their species. Our models can't process their damage resistance patterns. What about their military? Someone asked off-screen. The room went silent. We're assuming they don't have one, Thexral said weakly. They have to have one. Every species has military forces. Yes, but what if their military is... Thexral couldn't finish the thought. Harper felt a headache forming that had nothing to do with her injuries. This is getting out of hand. You should rest, the Cloud Doctor said. Arena Master Zekthor has scheduled your next matches for this evening. Matches, plural. 17 warriors have arrived from across the sector. They all wish to test themselves against human persistence. Of course they do. Harper closed her eyes. Is there any way I can just not? The Carvian honor code requires satisfaction in combat. You insulted their hospitality. Quilix sneezed. And until honor is restored, you must face challengers. The doctor paused. However, Arena Master Zekthor has been persuaded to allow recovery periods between fights. You'll have at least 30 minutes between each opponent. How generous. What if I just refuse? Then Ambassador Quilix must fight in your place. Harper pictured the nervous, constantly molting bird alien trying to fight a Vortac crusher. Right, okay, so I'm fighting 17 more murder aliens. Cool, this is fine, everything is fine. The doctor tilted in what might have been sympathy. For what it's worth, your species' approach to trauma is fascinating. You appear to process mortal peril through sarcasm. It's called a coping mechanism, and yes, it's cheaper than therapy. The next 6 matches became a galactic spectacle. News feeds from 14 different species broadcast Harper's fights live. Academic journals published real-time analysis. Military strategists watched with mounting concern. And somewhere on Earth, completely unaware of the chaos, Harper's supervisor was wondering why she'd missed the weekly status meeting. Fight 2, a crystalline warrior from Sector 7. Harper won by exploiting the fact that crystalline beings, while beautiful and deadly, had predictable fracture points. She'd learned about stress fractures during the San Angeles earthquake response. Same principle, bigger crystals, more stabbing involved. Fight 3, a phasing assassin who could partially shift out of normal space. Harper won by waiting until it got cocky, solidified to deliver a killing blow, and discovering that humans could, in fact, tackle things while experiencing severe internal bleeding. Fight 4, a hive mind swarm of bite-sized murder insects. Harper won by finding the arena's maintenance closet. Every arena had one, just like every disaster site had supply caches, and improvising a flamethrower from cleaning chemicals. OSHA would have been horrified. The swarm was more horrified. After each fight, the galactic internet exploded with new theories. Humans utilize environmental warfare. Study shows tool use beyond known parameters. The tackle maneuver. Why humans weaponize their own bodies. Fire as friend, human pyromania, and combat applications. Every victory made things worse. Not for Harper, she was just trying to survive until someone let her go home, but for galactic peace of mind. Species that had previously ignored humanity started opening diplomatic channels. 3 civilizations immediately closed their borders to human space. The Zentarii Empire, Quilix's people, were having emergency sessions about whether harboring humans constituted a defensive advantage or an extinction risk. And the academic papers kept coming. Vexrim published his 14th paper, Pain as Performance Enhancer, Human Combat Psychology, and the Weaponization of Suffering. A Carvian medical journal ran, Humans, when fine, means multiple organ failure. An economic analysis predicted market instability in mercenary sectors due to human persistence variables. By Fight 7, Harper had stopped trying to be strategic and started treating the matches like particularly aggressive customer service scenarios. She'd worked retail during the Atlantic economic collapse. Angry aliens trying to kill her were basically angry customers trying to kill her, except the aliens were more honest about their intentions. Look, she told a 9-foot-tall berserker chieftain during Fight 8, while bleeding from at least 12 new wounds. I don't want to be here. You don't want to be here. I volunteered for this honor. Right, but you're regretting it now, aren't you? I can see it in your eyes. All 6 of them. Harper ducked a blow that would have decapitated her. We could both just walk away. Tell everyone it was a draw. There are no draws in the arena of Carvos Prime. Yeah, I figured, but it was worth a shot. She won that fight by pure attrition. The berserker chieftain exhausted himself trying to land a killing blow on someone who refused to stay down. When he finally collapsed from fatigue, Harper was standing through sheer stubbornness and possibly a stress fracture in her spine. Medical staff carried them both off. The chieftain got a hero's rest. Harper got another round of doctors arguing about her biology. By Fight 12, Zekthor was having a full existential crisis. His arena's perfect record was in shambles. His reputation was crumbling. Species across the sector were questioning whether the Carvian combat tradition meant anything if a human disaster relief coordinator could survive it. Worse, Harper kept making sarcastic comments that got broadcast across the galaxy and became memes. Is this going to take much longer? I have a plant that needs watering back home. You know what's scarier than death matches? Student loan debt. Just saying. Hit me again. No, seriously. I've lost feeling in that arm anyway. Each quote was analyzed by xenopsychologists as evidence of advanced psychological warfare training. Each joke became a diplomatic incident. The galaxy was learning that humans used humor as a weapon, and they couldn't figure out how to defend against it. After Fight 15, with 2 matches remaining, the Galactic Council arrived in emergency session. Their ship descended like a diplomatic anvil, carrying representatives from 47 member species. They weren't here to stop the fights. Carvian sovereignty meant they couldn't interfere with cultural practices. They were here to witness whether humanity represented a strategic threat. In the VIP section, now crowded with council members, Ambassador Quillix was having a panic attack that involved losing feathers at a rate that violated conservation of mass. This was supposed to be a cultural exchange, he kept repeating, a simple diplomatic mission. How did it become a galactic security evaluation? On Earth, completely unaware of the chaos, a human news crew had somehow gotten credentials and arrived on Carvos Prime. They were treating Harper's fights like a sports event, with casual commentary that terrified every alien who heard it. Ooh, that's gotta hurt, but she's getting back up. Of course she is. That's what they do. Folks, for those just joining us, this is the 15th match. Harper Blake from Earth is now the most successful arena fighter in Carvian history, and she's doing it with what medical experts are calling a catastrophic list of injuries that should have killed her 8 times over. Back home, she coordinates disaster relief. Can you imagine what their actual soldiers are like? That last comment caused 3 species to immediately upgrade their defensive postures around human space. Finally, as evening lights dimmed over the arena, Zekthor made his announcement. His 4 arms raised, his crystalline body caught the lights, and his voice boomed across the arena and to news feeds across the galaxy. Enough! He roared. This human has defeated 15 champions. She has survived what no other being could survive. She has made a mockery of my arena with her persistent refusal to die properly. The crowd went silent. There remains one final match, Zekthor continued. One ultimate test. If humans are truly the galaxy's apex persistence predators, then let them prove it against the arena's greatest champion. Harper, leaning heavily against a medical support drone, raised a hand. Can I just say, I, Zekthor the Undefeated, challenge you to personal combat. The arena erupted in chaos. Harper stared at Zekthor across the arena floor. The crystalline warlord stood 12 feet tall, 4-armed, undefeated across 847 species. She stood 5'6", held together by spite and questionable medical science, and really just wanted to go home. Can we skip this? Harper asked. I'll admit you're scary. You can say you won. I'll sign a waiver. There are no waivers in honorable combat. Everything has waivers. I've signed 6 just today. They fought anyway, because apparently Carvian honor code didn't include common sense. The fight was less a battle and more a philosophical debate with violence. Zekthor used techniques perfected over centuries, devastating strikes, tactical positioning, combat grace that would make martial artists weep. Harper used what she'd learned from surviving 3 apocalypses. Don't stay down, protect vital organs when possible, and when all else fails, bite. She actually bit him during Minute 4. His crystalline arm tasted like disappointment and bad decisions. Did you just... You don't have rules about biting, do you? Zekthor won every exchange. Harper lost every exchange, but she kept getting back up, kept making sarcastic comments, kept refusing to quit even when her body was actively filing complaints. "Why won't you stay down?" Zekthor roared after the 8th knockdown. "Because Quillix will have to fight if I don't, and he's a nice guy having a bad week." That's it? That's your motivation? Friendship? And spite, mostly spite. You called humans aggressively mediocre. I'm taking that personally. Finally, after 23 minutes of combat that medical staff would later call physically impossible, Zekthor simply stopped. Stood there, forearms lowered, staring at Harper as she dragged herself upright again. "I yield," he said quietly. The arena went silent. "Not because you defeated me in combat," Zekthor continued, "but because I cannot comprehend your existence. You should be dead. You want to be anywhere but here. Yet you persist. You break every rule of biology and common sense. I cannot defeat something I do not understand." Harper blinked blood out of her eyes. "So, I can go home?" The Galactic Council descended to the arena floor en masse. Their medical teams finally understood. Humans weren't biological weapons. They were just from a death world that prepared them for everything through concentrated trauma. Earth's normal conditions, pandemics, climate disasters, economic collapses, corporate restructuring, created a species with ridiculous stress tolerance. Harper wasn't special. She was average. This revelation caused immediate galactic panic. 47 species upgraded humanity from irrelevant to deeply concerning. 12 opened diplomatic channels. 6 closed their borders. 3 started religions about human persistence. Battle scholar Vexrim's completely wrong papers became bestsellers. The Galactic Council created the Human Evaluation and Integration Program to assess humanity's place in galactic society. They appointed Harper as unwilling consultant because she had experience. "I coordinate disaster relief," Harper protested. "I'm not a diplomat." They interpreted this as specialized training for galactic disasters. They weren't entirely wrong. Harper negotiated her release with one condition. Earth got formal diplomatic recognition, and the Council funded her therapy sessions because this definitely counted as workplace trauma. Zekthor closed his arena and became a human anthropologist, following Harper around taking notes. She found this more annoying than the death matches. 3 weeks later, Harper sat in a corporate conference room back on Earth, doing trust falls at the mandatory team-building retreat she'd tried to escape. Nobody believed her story about alien death matches. "I survived 847 species best warriors and became a galactic incident," she muttered, catching Linda from accounting. "But sure, tell me again how I need to lean in and synergize my core competencies. The galaxy thinks I'm a terrifying persistence predator. You think I need to smile more in meetings." Her phone buzzed. A message from Ambassador Quillix. "About your average citizens. The Council wants to discuss your military. Please tell us your soldiers aren't actually trained. Please." Harper smiled and turned off her phone. Some questions were better left unanswered.